Give the call to the honourable member for Griffith.
To the Minister for Climate Change, your government has approved 3 new coal projects and supports new gas. However, the International Energy Agency has been clear that in order to avoid catastrophic climate change, no country can open any new coal and gas, while the International Institute for Sustainable Development has said there is a large consensus that new oil and gas fields are incompatible with limiting warming to 1.5 degrees. Can the minister explain whether the government supports these findings, and if so, how can he justify new coal and gas?
The call to the Minister for Climate Change and Energy.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the honourable member for his question, and I thank him for the opportunity to talk about everything this government has done over the last 15 months in relation to acting on climate change after 10 years of denial and delay. And the honourable member quotes the IEA. The IEA is a very important organisation, Mr Speaker. A very important
The member for Fairfax.
And if the honourable member is going to quote the IEA, he's very entitled to do that. He should quote the IEA in full, in all their views about all things, including carbon capture and storage, for example, Mr Speaker, which is not a view I think the honourable member shares and would not quote the IEA in that regard. But in relation to climate change, Mr Speaker, I'm very proud of the fact that this government has finally given Australia a Climate Change Act with a significant increase in the targets, Mr Speaker. I'm very proud of the fact we brought the Climate Change Authority back to give independent advice to the government of the day, as it should, in a transparent way, Mr Speaker. I'm very proud of the fact we've changed the objectives of the CFC and ARENA and so many other government organisations to actually finally put us on track for net zero emissions, Mr Speaker. I'm very proud of the fact that we've funded $20 billion in rewiring the nation to upgrade our energy grid, because there's no transition without transmission, Mr Speaker. I'm very proud of the fact that we're improving, including today, community engagement on that transmission, Mr Speaker. I'm very proud of that fact. Maybe things the honourable member doesn't support.
The member for Herbert is warned. And I'll call the member for Griffith, who has the call now.
On relevance, Mr Speaker, the question went specifically to coal and gas and whether the government accepts the findings of the IEA and other bodies that have said we can't have new coal and gas. On gas once in that entire question.
Well, the minister is entitled to be directly relevant to the question. There are a number of parts to the question. He can answer as he sees fit, but I'll listen to him carefully to make sure he is being relevant. So far, he is talking about the subject matter in the question, and he still has 1 minute 30 remaining. The minister has the call.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, because this government believes in a holistic approach to climate change. The honourable member likes to pick out this project or that project. He doesn't actually acknowledge the sweeping reforms that this government is putting into place, like finally ensuring Australia has an offshore wind industry in Australia, Mr Speaker, declaring the first 2 zones and beginning the process for more. For actually delivering a capacity investment scheme to drive gigawatts of renewable energy investment across this country, something those opposite promised and never delivered. To actually give the safeguard reforms teeth, to actually drive reforms that will be the equivalent of 2/3 of Australia's cars' emissions between now and 2030. And while talking about cars, the Minister for Transport and I driving a fuel efficiency standard so Australia finally catches up with the rest of the world and has a fleet which is low and no emissions and stops being the only major economy apart from Russia without fuel efficiency standards, something the previous government left us with. Mr. Speaker. I'm proud of the fact we've signed the Global Methane Pledge and joined the Climate Club, Mr Speaker, both well overdue as well, Mr Speaker. I'm proud of the fact we've passed the electric vehicle discount, which has driven an uptake in our short time in office so far of electric vehicles from 2% to 8%. I saw a shadow minister on television the other day saying electric vehicle sales were going through the roof under the coalition. Must have been a very low roof, Mr Speaker. A very low roof indeed, because they did nothing for 10 years and we're fixing up the mess.